The pie chart above shows how a student used 10 hours per week for studying English E, Mathematics M, French F, and Geography G. The amount of hours spent studying French is approximately. Alright, so M for Mathematics, E for English, F for French, G for Geography. Alright, now approximately, right. Now, I was about to say that we shouldn't make any assumptions about right angles and about semicircles and all of that, right? Because this looks like a right angle in the diagram as you have it in the sheet there, and this looks like half of the circle. But all of those concerns are mitigated by the use of the word approximately. So in other words, the question is saying to you, look at the diagram. What it look like. So this is one example of a question where you actually have the liberty to make assumptions based on the appearance of the diagram. And we know that that is not normally the case in maths. I tell my students all the time, do not make assumptions. It looking like 90 degrees. Don't assume it's 90 degrees because it's looking like 90 degrees. You have to be able to say why it is 90 degrees. Your line looking like a straight line, you have to be able to say that it is a straight line. You have a line in a circle, it looking like a diameter, but don't assume that it is a diameter because it looked like it cut in the circle in half. Right? You don't want to form the habit of making assumptions in mathematics. Mathematics is not a place for assumptions. However, if you have a situation like this one where they say the amount of hours spent speaking French is approximately, then you know you have a little leeway now to look at the diagram and say, alright, yeah, which then serves to underscore the point of reading the question carefully. Alright, so yes, in this question we could take the liberty of assuming that this is a diameter, which means that it cuts the circle in half. And if that is the case, then it means that this, whatever hours you have here, below this line would account for half of the time that the student spent. So if the whole circle is 10 hours, then everything here would be 5 hours. So in other words, math and English is 5 hours, and geography and French is 5 hours together. So basically, if they're asking for the amount of time you spent studying French, it means that we had to find X in a situation like this. And if we are saying, if we agree that the 5X represents 5 hours, then it means that 1X would represent 5 over 5 hours, which would be 1 hour. So in other words, X is 1 hour, which is to say then that geography is 1 hour, which means then therefore that French would be 4 hours. 4 by 1 is still 4. Alright, so before we just announce the answer and close up the question, I just want to also say that if in a situation like this, we have the luxury of looking at the diagram and making assumptions, then this here is clearly a right angle. This looking like 90 degrees, and this also looking like 90 degrees. And we know that 90 degrees is a quarter of 360. So in other words, if we had to state or say how much time was spent studying maths, then boom, 2.5 hours, quarter of 10. Boom, English, 2.5 hours, quarter of 10. Alright, and that of course would be in addition to the 4 hours for French and 1 hour for geography, right? So again, I want to make it clear. Generally, when you're doing these questions, don't make assumptions based on how the diagram appears. If, however, you have a situation where there's something about the language of the question that gives you an opening to make assumptions, as was the case here with the use of the word approximately, then by all means, go right ahead. So in this case, the answer is answer D, 4 hours.